It's that time again! It's the Berkey and the Badger Board Game Babble Show! It's gonna get wild, it's gonna get wacky, it might even get a little zany. We're gonna talk about board games and the board game industry. And, you know, we might talk about anything else we want to talk about!
Hey, we're live! We have Berkey and Badger!
Woo! Yeah, I'm Badger, and he's better known as Kevin Rootin' Tootenschmeyer.
Yeah, rootin' tootin' and Berkey Babble over there.
And babble, 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 babble. How are you doing, chap?
I'm doing fantastic, sir. How have you been?
I've been okay, thank you very much. I'm in good health, as you can see. I have both hands. One's a little slower than the other, but they both work, which is nice.
Getting some good rehab in on your arm, and your surgery all went well?
Yeah. It's still early days. I'm moving, but in the mornings is a nightmare. A bit stiff and a bit cramped. But anywho.
Yeah, we're having big fun up here. We're having big fun up here in Minnesota because this weekend we are expecting 42 below wind chills.
Wow.
Minus 42. It's going to be cold.
So, if you're younger than 42 years old, you're going to feel the wind chill, yeah?
Yeah, that's how it works.
Okay. Now I know.
That's Minnesota for you. Well, you might notice that I got me a cowboy hat on.
Ooh, and why would that be, my good friend Bert?
Well, there'd be a reason I got my cowboy hat on. That's because we're going to be talking about some stuff that might have to do with something a little bit Western.
Ooh, and that be more.
Well, I tell you, we're going to get right into some of the things about that, and it's our segment, the news segment, Things That Make You Go, hmm.
Graphic. Figure. Graphic.
Oh, that's a news graphic. Look at all the news.
Oh,
yeah. I tell you, one of the things that is in the news that's making me go, and something that I actually had the privilege of being a part of, is something that's on Kickstarter right now, and that's Tiny Epic Western by Gamelin Games. Tiny Epic Western. It's up on Kickstarter. Now there's our Kickstarter page right there with Tiny Epic Western. It's got 22 days to go. It's actually at $217,000. This is a fantastic, fun little Western-themed game by Gamelin Games, designed by Scott Almes. And one of the things, this game is really unique in that it is a worker placement game. But in typical worker placement games, you're unable to actually contest that particular spot. Viticulture allows us a little bit of options where you can go to a same spot. But generally speaking, first come, first serve. Well, in this game, you can duel people. You can get on a duel. If you scroll down to the bottom of that page, Barry, you will actually see a video from Board Game Theater.
Scrolling.
He's scrolling. Look at him scroll.
Keep scrolling. Keep that page scrolling.
Scrolling.
Tell me when to stop. There
it is, right there. See the rootin' tootin'? Oh, you're almost there. Go back down.
Sorry, I had cramp in my finger there.
Well, there's the cast of Board Game Theater. Now, I gotta say, we had some mighty good fun doing some dueling, and you might even see a little gun play. So if you like that kind of thing, you might just check it out.
Mosey on down and shake her thingy.
Well, seriously, this game has bullet dice that are really cool. It's a very quick, easy, accessible game. I actually have enjoyed a lot of the Tiny Epic offerings, but this particular one has a poker element where you actually play these little 3-card poker hands, and that actually allows you the right to move up the economic track, or allows you to buy buildings first. And this game is just a lot of fun. When I first demoed it at BGGCon, it was I don't know, it scratched every itch for me. Worker placement, a little bit of pressure luck, but thematic. I mean, the thing drips theme.
Did it scratch the horse rash as well?
Yeah, it scratched every itch I had. Places unknown.
Oh yeah, it's a bit of saddle sore and a bit of trigger finger itis. Yeah.
Well, if you have an inkling, go check out Tiny Epic Westerns by Gamelin Games on Kickstarter. I think you might have a good time. Barry, what's been making you go,
Well, what's been making me go is the recent acquisition, not the recent acquisition, but kind of an acquisition. There, the tongue is working, but the brain is not. Of the game Krosmaster, which is now being owned by Cool Mini or Not. This is very interesting because, as you know, Cool Mini or Not makes some fantastic figures for their games, and they're also branching out into different types of games which don't include minis, which is fantastic. But for me, Krosmasters is a French board game based on a French MMORPG thing, and so this piques my interest because it is a franchise which over here at the moment is still booming. It's been booming for like, I don't know, 7-8 years. There's also TV series is based on this universe, and there's also a film coming out this year based on the Doofus universe, which is where Krosmaster is. So I'm really excited because, Cool Mini or Not, they're a very good company, and I think they will treat Krosmasters really well. Not that you can't mistreat it in any way, because the figures are just fantastic, full stop. I don't know if you've seen the figures and seen the artwork of these games, Kev.
I saw the reality show, you know, where they were putting on all the different costumes and cross-dressing and then whoever had the best dress was the master of the crossing. That's what you're talking about?
I am lost. Oh, you're talking about cross-dressing. Okay.
All right,
moving right along. And the other fantastic acquisition is Asmodee now own the rights to Catan, which is a fantastic thing, because I always feel sorry for you Americans because you have the Mayfair edition of Catan, whereas over here in France we have the Philosophia version, which comes with plastic roads, which are like little hills with a little road on it, and then the cities and the villages are plastic and they look beautiful. You know, they look like sculpts. So hopefully Asmodee will take this approach and bring this to you instead of you having those little wooden cubey things. I mean, yeah, it's inexpensive, but my Catan looks better than yours.
Well, I think that's
I can hear a song coming on there.
My Catan looks better than yours.
No, it isn't. Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Yes, it is.
I think it's kind of interesting because, Catan has been such a major mainstay of Mayfair games. I'm curious as to how, as I understood the press release, Mayfair was still going to be supporting the tournaments and the national event in 2016, but how that would go from there on. And then even in Gen Con, Mayfair has such an incredible presence at Gen Con. I mean, they have the whole Mayfair Lane thing. And I have to assume that now they're probably sitting on a big pile of cash because of this acquisition. But Catan with some big numbers, and how that does that mean that Asmodee North America takes up a larger spot in Gen Con? Does Mayfair start to quiet down? It's interesting.
Yeah, because it's like Mayfair's only big title. Tea time. It's tea time here. I need tea.
It does make sense to me, though, with Asmodee, and Fantasy Flight, because they're in a lot of the big box stores already. Fantasy Flight with X-Wing, Catan is already in a lot of these stores, so their distribution channel in the big box arena, that seems to make sense, too.
Yeah.
Well, last thing on the news is just to let you folks know I'm a contributor on the Dice Tower Board Game Breakfast Show, as well as my good buddy Barry Dublé. Last week on our Board Game Breakfast segment, we had back-to-back segments. On the breakfast show, that was kind of fun.
We were
Fresh
doing.
from France. Yeah, you were Fresh from France was Barry's segment, and we did a little tiny epic western. But the big thing is they're doing a Kickstarter. And if you like the Dice Tower and they've been beneficial to you, I'd recommend hitting up the Dice Tower and check out their Kickstarter. It's one that I've always been supporting and really appreciate the work that they do. So that's basically it for the news. We're going to go on to our segment where we talk about a few board games we've been playing, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Where is the sound when you need them? Yeah, there is a sound, and it goes a little like this.
The good! The not so bad!
Oh, I should be doing something, shouldn't I? Really?
Wait for it! And the ugly!
Well, obviously, I've been playing a tiny epic western. That was like mind blow, Barry.
Oh no, I was doing Scream.
Oh, Scream.
Yeah.
That makes me scream. That'd make anyone scream.
Okay, I was
Still
doing
shy.
Scream. Okay. Okay.
Well, I've been playing a lot of tiny epic western, of course, because we were doing that on Board Game Theater and got a lot of plays in that, and a fun game. I just talked about that a little bit. But basically, hello?
Should we explain the system?
Oh, should we do that? Yeah. Yeah.
Did you want to do that? Or should I do that?
Yeah.
I'll do that.
Yeah, would you do that?
We do that.
What,
Just like
yeah, would you do that?
do we. Okay. Our good, bad, and the ugly section is where we do a kind of a first impressions of board games that we've played recently. If they are bad, like this one right here, it means that it's a game that we've played. It wasn't super amazing, but it wasn't pants. But you know, we'd get on the high horse and ride it again. Yeehaw! Here we have New Kids on the Block, and some of them look like girls. One of them saying, "Oh, this is so lame," and another saying, "Oh, seriously, you like Munchkin?" And
I have no words.
yeah. So if a game is bad, then we give it that rating. Well, not bad. But if a game is good, like the Monkeys here, they're a great boy band, aren't they? They're still sexy. Must be the sideburns. A good game is a game that we will play again and again, and probably go miles out our way to purchase this game and have it in our collection. They look like cowboys as well.
Hey, we're the Monkeys. That's the best boy band of all time.
Yeah, and then there's the ugly. There's me and An ugly game is a game that we've played and we thought, this game should have never been born.
That was ugly.
Yeah, that was ugly. Ugly. He's one ugly. What's that from?
He's an ugly.
No, it's probably an Eddie Murphy film. But anywho, not a Western.
Now that I jumped the gun, I might as well get into my board review, right?
Yeah, you get into your review.
Well, been playing a game that I know is a favorite game of Sir Barry of do blah 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 blah. It is called Viticulture. Viticulture is a worker placement game where you're grabbing, yeah, you can see it right back there, right?
Yep.
With the Tuscany expansion. I got some advice. I actually got to play Viticulture with the first elements of the Tuscany expansion at Dice Tower Con this last summer with my daughter Gabrielle. We had a lovely lady that taught us the game, and she explained that with Tuscany, you go through these expansions a little at a time. You uncork them like a fine wine, which, Barry, you, of course, know a lot about.
Oh, yes, because I drink lots of beer.
So basically, this game, you're getting wine, and you're taking summer and winter actions, and you're sending out your little workers to go out there, and And you also have some player cards that you're going to be able to get to give you special things that you can do, and you're going to be collecting resources, building buildings, eventually fulfilling orders to make to make victory points and get in this game. So with that, that's a brief overview. How do you feel that I think about that game, Barry?
Well, this game is beautiful, and it is. You like Stone Age, so I'm going to say that you think this game is good because it is good. And we've lost him. He thought the game was so good. He jumped up in the air and his feet unplugged the computer, and we don't know where he is. Oh dear. Oh dear.
I like the game.
So you have played. This is our special guest, Philip, who won the Tom Vassell, not the Tom Vassell, but the Jack Vassell Memorial. Yeah. To join us on our show. Philip, tell us about this game. What do you like about it?
Okay, so I played it for the very first time at BGG Con. A buddy of mine who I've been playing with for a lot of years said I had to play it, and I'm not a big fan of I wasn't a big fan of the theming when it came out on Kickstarter, so I'm like, you know what, I'm going to pass. Maybe I'll play it at BGG Con. One of the hugest mistakes I made. Great game. You know, I'm not a wine snob. I don't go to Sonoma, California for wine. So, you know, my father's a huge wine snob, but the game plays so well with the different worker placements, the different things that you can do, the different ways you know, it's somewhat of a point salad, but the theming is so well done and it's so gentle and it has sort of an economic piece to it, which I really like. So from my perspective, I thought it was a great game. Really enjoyed it, and I actually just recently bought it now that it came back out. I got the Essentials edition, so it's on my shelf. It's probably not going to get played till later this month because I have a couple things higher in the queue. But I really enjoyed the game at BBG Con, and I realized I was a schmuck for not backing it earlier.
Yeah, like I was when it first came out. I was looking around for a good wine game, and I was looking at Vinos and Vintage and lots of other games which begin with V. And this one piqued my interest. I watched the video. I thought, yeah, that's my type of game. And when it came on Kickstarter again, second time, backed it, bought it, played it, loved it, and it's, as you well know, my #1 game. At this present time, and still is my #1, and probably will be for the next couple of years, I think.
That's a good game.
Yeah.
Hey, I made it back. Isn't that special?
Well, thanks for watching the show. We'll be back next time, so for another...
Well, I'm sure that you actually talked all about this game. And I'll give you my rating because I bet you guessed that you thought I thought it was good.
Yes.
That's like a double bluff thing. But yeah, of course, that's exactly what I think. I don't think it'll let me do my memes now that I'm jumping back in here.
Okay, so he said it's good. So it's a monkeys. It's a monkeys like this. Yay!
Yeah, this game is so fantastic. I mean, I love everything about it. I can see why people really enjoy this game. I'm sure you talked enough about it, so it's a fantastic game. Go buy it, go find it, go get the essential version, go get the Tuscany expansion, tweet it all out to the whole world. It's a great game.
Yes, tweet it to you. You're red in the nose.
All right, Barry, what you been playing?
I've been playing this cute, adorable, cartoony game called Lutece, which is a brand new game from Superlude. It is a card game which is an auction, and you're bidding on items, and at the end of the game there's a scoring where you have the majority of certain resources, you get lots of points. If you have specific buildings, you get lots of points. If you fulfilled quests, you get points. And that's basically the idea of the game. Would you like to hear more?
Yeah, a little more.
Okay. Each round, players play 2 cards because there's a market, and if there's 5 players, there's 10 items out there. There's 5 people who have skills like bakery or winery, and then you have 5 places, and these are normally like a field of wheat or a pub or a quest. And players play 2 cards that face down in front of them all at the same time, and these are the items that they wish to bid for, because it's all laid out in numbers. You can put an ante on these to guarantee that you win, but you don't have to. And then everyone reveals, and then you go through the order of the market, the objects, and if you're the sole person which is bid on this item, you pay for the price, you recuperate it, and it goes in front of you. If there's 2 people bid on the same thing, what'll happen is if they're both equal, the item goes in the bin. It goes away out of the game. But if someone's put an ante on, you know, a couple of coins saying, yeah, I definitely want this, they lose that, but they gain the item, they pay the cost of it. And this game goes on until there's no more cards in the deck. And that's, as I said, it's a highest score wins kind of thing.
What's
Very
the
quick.
age group? What's the age group on this?
It's from 10 upwards. It plays to 5 players, and it takes about 45 minutes, which is about right.
Yeah. Well, that sounds like a game you'd probably play with your daughter, and it sounds like it's got a lot of elements that you like. So I'm going to say that you rate this good.
Yeah, I would if I... It's not bad. It's not bad.
No, okay.
As I said, there you go. I've only played it a little bit, and as a first impression, it's not bad, and it intrigues me still because there is this bluffing element that was involved. You know, when everyone's like bidding on these items, you know, you can see what they've got in front of them. You can see that they've got, like, maybe they're interested in making bread, or maybe they're interested in soldiers or something. And so you like look at the items that are available, and you're like trying to counter bluff what they want. And sometimes you'll put your ante on just to make sure that you steal something away from them. There's a lot of subliminal kind of, as I said, not bluffing, but you know, what's the word? Precognition? I don't know.
Yeah, you've got a little bit of information, but it sounds like it's got a little bit of that no thanks almost aspect to it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not too bad. I'm looking forward to playing it some more. Obviously, more players is probably better because there's more chances of people bidding on the same thing. But really cute, adorable, nice scoring system, and just a general kind of point salad-y game.
Yeah,
Salad.
it looks like the artwork is pretty cool on it.
Lettuce, salad. No. Sorry, it's Lutece, not lettuce.
Lutece. Well, there's another game I've been playing. I first was introduced to this again at Dice Tower Con back in June, and this game was not available for a while. Finally, it became available on it was a successful Kickstarter, and it was added to my shelf of shame, and it was sitting there for a couple months, and finally I was able to get it out. And this game is called SteamPunk Rally. SteamPunk Rally. Now, the thing about SteamPunk Rally, I think that's Roxley Games, right? You have an image of that?
No, it's not my job to get your images. Sorry, I'm being nasty there.
I can't get them up anymore now that I re-logged in, so I can't pull anything up.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. The Roxley Games or the SteamPunk Rally, it's very, in my opinion, it's innovative. You have to. I'll give you a little explanation. You're basically getting these cards. You are historical people who are going to design a machine that kind of in a steampunk theme, and it's a racing game. And you're going to race through the Alps basically, and then there's you can flip the map over, and you can race through this underground room as well. I believe that you can play up to 10 players with it, and you're getting these little cards, and they have valves that you have to match them up so that they match each other, so they fit basically. And then you're getting dice, and these dice are going to represent different resources. There it is. Warren Bishop is the designer of the game of SteamPunk Rally, and I believe that's Roxley Games. I was right.
Whee!
Well, you can see the artwork on the game, the tile placement, and fueling these different parts of your engine. It's a drafting game, and you're all going to grab 4 cards, and you're going to draft. And you can throw these cards away and collect resources in the form of dice. Some of the cards have a special ability that you put underneath your token, and you can use at any time during your turn. Or you can add a component to your machine. And then you try to combine those machines to move forward. There's obstacles along the way in this race. And that's basically SteamPunk Rally in a nutshell. What do you think I think about that, Barry?
Well, it's been on your shelf of shame for a little while, so you haven't had the urge to go and play it. So I'm going to say, because it sounds like a game that your family would play and probably could play at any time as well, because it's kind of like a medium weight game, would you say?
I would say medium weight.
Medium
weight.
Yeah, so I think you think it's not too bad.
Not too bad. I'm actually going to rate it good.
Oh!
Hey, hey, we're the monkeys! Well, the reason I'm rating it good is this. I do have a little bit of a caveat. We had a little bit of a time getting through the rules. I watched a rules video explanation as well. It's not that the rules weren't laid out well, but when we say medium weight, I mean, there's a fair amount of things going on, and it takes you a little bit to get through that. So I wouldn't consider this a gateway game.
Okay.
However, once you understand what's happening, then it flows really great. The artwork is fantastic. I think that the drafting mechanism of this game and the way they do that is very innovative. I think it deserves a nod for most innovative game in that category. I really liked the way it worked. There's a little bit, depending on how many players you're playing with, there could be a little bit of a runaway element depending on the draw, that kind of thing. So some people might not like that aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, it's just fun and it's so different. And so I really like the game. I think it's definitely, it wouldn't probably break my top 50 of games, but definitely enjoyable, and I would always play it if somebody wanted to join it. So that's my first impressions of SteamPunk Rally.
Okay, cool stuff. We shall then move on then from our good, the bad, and the ugly, because we couldn't find a good segue.
Well, we have a special guest with us for the What Game is Behind the Door, and I'd like to introduce Philip Millman. Philip, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Oh, we're so glad to have you. I met Philip at Board Game Geek Con down in Dallas this last year, and Philip was actually so kind to be a part of the Jack Vassell Memorial Fund auction, and he actually was the winner to be able to come on the show and be guest with us, and so we're so grateful for your generosity to help out gamers in need, and then just to get to meet you and have coffee with you. It was really a great time, so I'm so glad you're here.
I appreciate it, and thanks for having me. I think this will be fun.
Yeah, we're gonna have a blast. We're doing a show. I'm assuming you've seen our show before with this game show, but the first thing that we're gonna do, Barry, why don't you go ahead and you can kind of go through the rules explanation of what's behind the door.
Okay, I just turned the page over as well. I was ready to start writing and guessing. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to do 3 questions for Philip. And then what we're going to do is try and guess what the answers are. These are all board game related questions, obviously, because this is a Star Trek related show where we talk about how Spock was... No, anyway, board games. We'll have 3 questions. The first question will be, what game was the last game that Philip purchased? Now, we don't know Philip that well. So this game can be anything. And what we're going to do is we're going to have 5 questions each. 5 from me, 5 from Berkey. And Mr. Millman? Philip?
Millman.
I'll call you Millman. No, sorry. My brain is going off on a skew whiff here at the moment. He will have to answer either yes, no, or because there may be like a question which is like in the middle of yes and no.
The last game he purchased.
Good luck, guys.
I like that. We need to have like a team meeting beforehand and like come
So
up with really
now for
trivial questions.
Now, clarification. Now, this isn't games that he's just recently received from Kickstarter or anything. These are games that he's purchased, or could it include games that he's just received from Kickstarter?
Okay. Your question. Is this game from Kickstarter, Philip?
No.
Okay, that one didn't count. Way to go, Barry.
But it narrows it down. It narrows it down.
Yeah, you're a mighty fine partner there, Barry. Let's figure this guy out.
Okay.
You go first.
I just mean.
Now you draw.
Hey, partner, get off your horse and drink your milk, huh? Yeah, high horse.
My high horse.
What's Sean Connery for a cowboy?
Listen here, bureaucrat. I wouldn't push it. I got a touch of the hangover.
You love making my editing a nightmare, don't you?
Okay, go ahead, Barry.
Is this game a Kickstarter?
No.
There you go. See, that was my first question.
Oh, it was your question.
Yes, it was my question.
Yeah. All right. So, I thought we were getting an extra one and you were being clever.
No.
Dang. All right. How about, is this game a worker placement game?
No.
No. All right. I'll pass.
Has this game been released in the past 3 years?
Yes.
Okay.
Is this primarily a dice game?
Yes.
Ooh.
Ah. Now we're getting somewhere, dadgummit. A dice game. Okay, I'm going to say Dice City.
Nope.
All right.
Okay, it's not Dice City.
Not Dice City.
Okay. Is this a... Oh, okay, no, you've already said worker placement, so if it was a worker placement dice rolling game, then...
He said no. No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask, is dice rolling allocation worker placement thing, but obviously no. Okay, is it a speed game with dice? Is there an element of against the other clock, not against the clock or against the other players when you're rolling these dice?
Sometimes.
Sometimes? Oh, no.
By the way, this is going to be very funny once you guys figure it out.
Yeah, dumb.
So that rules out escape and...
Is that a question, Barry?
No. I'm contemplating all the... I'm just trying to help Kevin as well, because sometimes he forgets the questions that I ask, and like the first one...
What are you talking about? Forgetting nothing.
So games like SteamPunk, that's out because that's speed one all the time when you're playing the dice.
I'm enjoying this way too much.
I'm gonna have a guess at Rattle Battle.
Nope.
Why did I say that? It's not against the clock to roll the dice.
All right. Is this a space-themed game?
Yes.
Ah.
I think I know.
Well, that's interesting because I could go a couple ways with that, but I would say let's say Roll for the Galaxy.
Great game, but no.
Ah!
No. I think I know what it is. There was a game that recently come out. It's a Star Trek game with dice. Was it
That's
Funkies?
It's Star Trek 5-Year Mission. So that was actually, and there's and it's a co-op game, and one of the crises that you can hit is a speed element where you have to keep rolling the dice within a certain amount of time to solve the or it blows up in your face. So with all your Star Trek references, I thought this was going to be very funny.
Shut up, Wesley.
We got it. We got one.
So did you get the did you get the Shut Up Wesley promo at Gen Con?
I did not, because I don't go to Gen Con. It's usually during a time where I can't make it.
Yeah. I actually picked up that game at Gen Con. We demoed it there, and I got the Wheaton card that's if you flip it over for the next generation, and it's Shut Up Wesley, and everybody has to say it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's fun. All right. Well, I guess we're going to move on to the second question there, Barry.
Yeah, the next question. We are going to ask, what is the game that Philip is most excited about getting? And he's going to have a little bit of time to draw an image, and then he's going to hold it up for all of us to see, all of us YouTube watchers watching right now. If you're listening to the old podcast, we'll describe the image to you with this subtle piece of music in the background, and hopefully we can guess it as quick as possible.
Well, we'll see how good of a drawer he is.
I am such a bad drawer that I actually printed out images beforehand because there would be absolutely no. And I'll show you what I drew, and then you can try to figure out. You'll know why I don't draw.
Okay.
And I think I threw it out because I was so disgusted. All right, well that's good. Oh, here it goes. Here's the first image. If you could figure this out, I would be impressed.
Oh. Well, it kind of looks like a hand over there, and then it looks like a cowboy boot, but it's got a little thing with Rome. It looks like a star on the Italian peninsula. It looks like a boot, of course, Mediterranean. So.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. There's 2 games that come out this year called Rome. So it's got to be one of those. That's what I can say.
Rome and Roma.
And there was one called Rome Rise to Power, which is a dice rolling worker placement allocation game.
What?
And there was another one called Rome. I'm going to have to cheat and look on Board Game Geek. Rome.
So now you have some graphics as well?
Well, I was going to show you this, which is the actual Mediterranean, a map of the Mediterranean Sea.
Okay, we got the Mediterranean.
And then the second one is this, but you've already figured out that it's something Rome-based, so I didn't need to show this.
All right, it's got a centurion there and a Roman soldier.
And I'm going to give you one more image because this one's going to be a little, because I think this one's going to be difficult for you. I also drew this.
Oh, some squiggly lines that look like waves.
I missed it entirely. I'm too busy on Board Game Geek trying to find this other Rome game.
We're doing a podcast right now, Barry.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I thought we were playing Ghostbusters. Just a couple of wavy lines.
We could all just go to Board Game Arena right now, too, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, squiggly lines that look like the ocean, so Mediterranean. I'm going to give a guess here, because I think it might be a little different than what you're thinking, but I could be wrong. But I'm going to say it's the new Concordia Salsa expansion.
No, I actually do own that, and I've played it, and it's awesome. But no, it's not the game I'm excited about getting.
All righty, so Barry.
Yeah, I've just found the other game. It's called Rome City of Marble, and that's got nothing to do with some wavy lines.
Excuse me. I saw a game being demoed at Board Game Geek Con, and I wanted to get back there and demo it. What was it called? Rome Rise of the Empire?
I don't know if that. I think you're on the right track there, but it wasn't called that at all. You'd have to. Your Latin is lacking. That's my other clue.
Ah, Latin.
I'm gonna sit this one out. The only other Romans I can think about is the ones in Asterix. So.
Hmm.
And the ones in here.
It's not Elysium. No, that's Greek.
No.
That's Greek. That's Greek.
Yeah, I haven't played that one yet, but no, it's not that.
It's not Takeover, is it? Oh, wait a minute, no.
Konnichiwa. Domo arigato.
It's not Roma, like Queen Games.
No.
Let's go through all of them. Rome at War. No, it's not that one.
All right,
You go ahead and give us
one more hint. I'm going to give you one more hint. One more clue. The word Rome is not in the title of this game.
I don't like you anymore, Philip.
Okay. Here it is. Well, I don't know what those squiggly lines, but I don't know. Porta Nigra?
No, that's actually a good guess, but it's not. It's a game coming out soon called Mare Nostrum Empire.
Oh, yes, I backed this on Kickstarter.
Yeah, and I'm really excited about it. It was being demoed at BBG Con in the secondary room over there, and but I did back it. I did demo it. I really like the game. I'm excited about getting it. It has the type of mechanics that I really enjoy in a game.
Yeah, tell us a little bit more about it.
Well, it has the worker placement aspect, and I'll apologize. I don't remember all the components of it. It did have a worker placement component. It does have sort of a race component to it, which for my house, those are huge wins for us. We tend not to go into the truly adversarial games like Nothing Personal or Food Chain Magnet or any of those guys. So, and the artwork is great. Exactly. Exactly. That's why I mentioned it. I happen to like it, but it's just never going to get any play on my table. Between the art and the gameplay and the kind of the different components that we like in our house, I think it's going to be a good game for us.
Yeah, and it's from Academy Games, and Uwe Rosenberg, Uwe Eckert, excuse me, president of Academy Games. Uwe, I did an interview with him at BGG Con, and Academy Games, I mean, they bring out some fantastic games. I mean, historical component-wise, they're fantastic. 1775 is one of our favorite games. We really like Freedom, the Underground Railroad, and so, I mean, I'm really excited about that too. Did you get the great big map that they had with the stretch goals?
I did not. I didn't get the huge map because I don't have a table to put it on.
Oh yeah. Well, it was like a great big neoprene mat, and I mean it was like $55, and I didn't pull the trigger either, but I was like, ooh, that looks cool.
Then you'd have to build a table for it to go on, wouldn't you, Berkey?
Yeah, there you go. My table might accommodate it, but. Well, that's awesome. Let's go on to question number 3.
Okay, question number 3 is we're going to ask what Philip's current favorite game is. And we're going to do this in a style of he will give us 5 one-word clues, or maybe a slight double-barreled word. And we've got to guess from these 5 clues what this game is. And hopefully it doesn't say dice and playing piece and playing board and cards and...
Well, Barry, he's been pretty clever. He's been stomping us here quite a bit, so we got to get on our game, buddy.
Okay,
guys, you're one out of 2, so you're batting 500, which would be all-star in my book. So right. Here we go. I'm going to start with the first word: robots.
Robots.
I should write this down.
Robots. Okay. I will say Volt.
Nope. Next word.
Ricochet robots.
Nope.
Okay.
Future.
Ooh.
Is it the baseball game? What's the baseball? Baseball highlights.
Yes.
Baseball highlights 2015. That's
45.
Right at 245, right up there.
Yeah, that's the game that gets a lot of play during my lunch hour, either solo or I have a buddy at work that I play with, and that's one of our favorite games to play. It's quick. It's a great deck builder. The theming is fantastic. I have all the expansion teams. I have all the expansions. We play with the coach. Really, really, really enjoy the game. And so when you sent me the question to think about it, and then when your video appeared on and I see baseball highlights 2045, you know, over Badger's shoulder, I'm like, oh no, this is gonna be too quick. That's what it is right now. I mean, there are a lot of other games I play and I love, but that one right now is holding number one spot for me.
Okay.
That's such a good choice. It actually took my number one place in deck builders, and it replaced Core Worlds. Was my favorite deck builder game. I like a lot of deck building, but when I played that game, just like you, I got to meet Mike Fitzgerald when he just developed Diamonds. We had about a 15-minute talk waiting to get into Gen Con in the Grand Hall the one day, and that's when I first met him. And then he started telling me about, well, I got this new game coming. Well, it intrigued me, but by playing it, it's just like, I mean, the Dukes of Dice, they talk about this on their podcast all the time. It's Alex's favorite game of all time, and I think this is one of the best games of 2015. In fact, it was my second top best game of 2015.
I actually learned how to play Baseball Highlights 2045 in its alpha version at BBGCon a couple of years back with Mike Fitzgerald and Ralph from Eagle Griffin Games. Yeah, Ralph, I couldn't remember his last name. And you know, it speaks to me as a baseball fan, as a science fiction fan. I'm actually not a big fan of deck building generally. And this game is just so fantastic that it's actually a gateway game for a lot of people that I've introduced into gaming. People who are like, well, I'm into baseball, I'm into this, I'm into that. I said, okay, here, try this game. It's not that complicated. Once you get sort of through it takes just a little bit of thinking about this is a threatened hit, this is an immediate action, so forth, and how that plays out. But once you've gotten that, it's a fantastic game. I played we have an 8-player tournament that we do once a quarter in Baltimore, which is about an hour from where I live, and all we're doing is playing baseball highlights in a sort of a round robin and then a playoff type of scenario. Last time I played, I will have to admit, even though I've been playing this game since it came out, I came in dead last. So I was fired. I was fired by my team. It was awful.
Yeah, I played this with my son a lot, and I played with another friend too in the board game group. And when we get to BGGCon next year, are you going to BGG?
I hope to be. I'm also, for the very first time, I got lucky and I was able to score tickets to Dice Tower in Orlando this year. So I will be there as well. So if you're going to be there, I challenge you.
It's on, buddy. It's on. You dirty dog, scoundrel! We're gonna play some baseball highlights.
And just using that as a quick segue, I did play a lot of Tiny Epic Western in BBGCon. I played the shootout. I came in number 2, and I was also one of the winners of the Alpha when they had that Alpha comp, sending out the Alpha game contest. So I've actually played it quite a bit, and I really, really like the game. Although I've played 3 different rules of it, and I have to say, not only do I like the game, I also like the game company. Michael Coe, who is the president of Gameland Games, is just a really, really good guy. When I had an issue with one of its earlier products, Tiny Epic Kingdoms, a couple of the resources hadn't been cut right and were broken. No question asked, he just sent it to me, and then as almost as an apology, he sent me, Gameland pen and a pin, and and one of their little 6-sided dice. I mean, they're really great guys, and I have no problems backing any of their products, just because I think the company is just, it's worth backing, and they're a good bunch of guys.
No, that's so well said. I appreciate you saying that too, because I've had the opportunity to meet Michael a few years ago, and Michael actually has a film background. He was a professional actor.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and when he first heard about our board game theater idea, he was kind of intrigued by it, and so we started developing a dialogue. But when I played Tiny Epic Westerns too, I was so excited about. I only played the demo with Nathan Hatfield, and Nathan, yeah, this guy too. He brought out the theme of this demo so well. I mean, I think Nathan is just this wonderful guy, and he did such a good job for Gamelin. But anyway, and I was so intrigued by the theme and the playing of these poker cards and the duel, the worker placement, and just everything about it, the accessibility. It's easy to get to the table, all of that. I called Michael and I said, hey, I really would like to do Tiny Epic Westerns. I don't know if we have time to pull this together because the Kickstarter was happening so soon. But he goes, I would love to have to work with you guys. And it has absolutely been a joy working with these people. They do such a good job. They're quality people. They're considerate. They're careful. They're smart. He does a great job as a businessman producing his products. So really proud to be a part of it.
It's good stuff. I agree.
Well, Barry, should we move on to the Babble topic there, bud?
Okie dokie.
We'll let you talk some now. You can talk about me.
Now it's time for the Babble, 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 Berkey and Badger's Board Game Babble.
I'm going to talk, am I? Oh. Yeah, this episode is called New Kids with a Box. For what reason? Because are you new to the hobby? What attracted you to the hobby? How did you find a game group? What are all these questions? You know, why are you watching this video? Is it because you want to learn more about board games? Is it because that you're dipping your finger in the water, making sure that the milk is not very hot and so you can drink it? Yes, if you're new to the hobby, what questions do you have? Philip apparently is relatively new to the hobby and obviously has some questions and maybe has some advice as well. And so this section is going to be babbling about new board gamers.
So let me just give you a quick background so that you know where I've come from and so forth. When I was in high school back in the mid-'80s, the only game that we really had, and there weren't a lot of board games available. There were some Avalon Hill, and I did play D&D. But the game that I played a lot of, which you can maybe see on this shirt, is Ogre by Steve Jackson Games, which came out in 1977 in a little packet with little cardboard chips that whenever I grew up in New York City, so I have those New York City values.
New York City? New York City? That ain't paste picante.
But we do have good sushi. Anyway, so
And bagels. Give me a bagel.
And pizza. A pizza. Gotta have a slice.
Here. I'm walking here. Okay.
I'll switch to a Brooklyn accent. You guys will not understand a word I say. But whenever the train would stop, all the pieces would go sliding. So it was a little bit difficult. We had built this little thing. So, but that was my initial board game. But then I didn't do anything after that, either due to money or time. And then about 3 years ago, somehow I stumbled upon the Ogre Kickstarter of the Designer Edition, which is this massive thing. I don't know if you've seen it. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my god, I have to get that. One, for nostalgic, and I'd love to play it again. And I do play it from time to time, but it doesn't come out that often because there's just not a lot of people who like that type of game. But then I started seeing these other things on Kickstarter, these other games, and I'm saying, wait a second, what's going on here? This isn't the old Avalon Hill games that I'm used to, or Settlers of Catan, which I know is a mainstay and a staple, but it's not one of my more favorite games. I did own it. I did sell it. just because we're not into sort of direct headbutting type of things. And so I started getting into it, and then as the Kickstarters and then the other games, and then when I ran into it, when I found out about BBGCon, when someone told me about BoardGameGeek.com, and then the convention, that's when it really stepped up. And you know, for me as a newcomer, it took what the mistake I made, and I would recommend other people not do, don't follow my lead, is go to a gaming club, go to a convention, see what type of games you like, play a whole bunch of different games, and then start buying games that you like. Because I have games in my collection which will never see the light of day again, and I'm probably going to end up getting rid of them. So it's one of these learning process things. And oh, by the way, there are people in the gaming. As much as I love gamers, and the vast majority of great people, you will run into a schmuck every so often, and you just got to realize it's not the gaming group, it's the schmuck. So those are my two pieces of advice.
So you jumped into this hobby after rediscovering it, and you started splashing about your money here, there, and everywhere. Why was that?
Well, two things were kind of going on. One is I tend to be a little bit manic in the way I do things, so part of it is, you know, I'm sort of psychological.
I can tell by that painting behind you is very manic.
Yeah, it is. It's actually something that a friend of mine drew, so I have to hang it someplace where he'll see it occasionally.
And now
you wait, don't tell him that. Don't tell him that. But I really enjoyed it, and prior to doing board gaming, I was heavily involved in amateur improvisational theater in the Washington, D.C. area. It was great. It was fun. I was enjoying the hell out of it, except that my job responsibilities changed somewhat, and it required me to travel all the time. And so I didn't have the time to work with a group, have a set schedule, be able to perform, even commit to perform, because I didn't know what my schedule was going to be. With board games, what I really love about board games is it's intellectual, it's creative. Every time I play a new board game, a different part of my brain has to kick in so that I can figure out the rules, the mechanisms, the strategies, and what part of the game, and this is why theming, which is kind of bizarre for a lot of people who are new to the hobby, what's theming so important? Isn't it all gameplay? Yes, it's gameplay, but if the theming doesn't work, and I've certainly run into games where the mechanics are fantastic, but the theme sucks.
I hate those sucky themes. I hate them.
Nothing worse than yeah, I'm not gonna go there.
Chewing on tobacco. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that chewing tobacco game is horrible. Terrible theming. You know, cheap spittoons. I mean, just awful.
Those jelly beans that got the funny smells that you don't know if you're gonna get the bad one or not.
Exactly. But it activates the creative part of my brain, and so I play and the other reason I bought so many different type of games is I like the variety. So, you know, we do play a lot of dice chucking games like Roll for the Galaxy. We like co-op games a lot, Zombicide, and I know there's a lot of hate for Zombicide on Board Game Geek because of it's sort of simplistic, but it's a great gateway game, fantastic. And if you start embodying the characters that you're playing, because they're all movie characters, it's a great, fun game, especially because of the theming. Yeah, the gameplay is a little on the weak side, I agree with that, but it hits the table all the time, and I can bring my kids to, you know, my kids are older, but I bring my friends' kids who tend to be a little bit younger than my kids because I have kids young. It's a great game for that purpose. And
well, I think when you mention thematic, you know, elements to games, I mean, the whole thing about gaming is it's supposed to be fun. And if you enjoy, you know, some role playing, if you will, or like, you know, I'm wearing my cowboy hat today because we just did Tiny Epic. Well, I mean, we were all dressed up. It was so natural for us to just get into a character and just screw around and have fun. And yeah, maybe it's silly, and you know, people who are a little too deep in their thinking might not enjoy that, and that's cool, that's fine, whatever floats your boat. But I mean, if you enjoy screwing around like that, why not have fun and then bring that theme right into the game?
So what kind of etiquettes should we bring to the table if, let's say, we're sitting at a table with newbies? How should we be acting? I mean, you know that I'm going to break into song when I'm playing a game. Berkey's going to break into accent when he's playing a game.
I might even sing a song.
Well, what kind of...
What did you say, Philip?
I apologize. I coughed a little bit while he was talking, and so
okay,
I apologize for that. So the type of etiquette, of course, is just what it would be for any type of social situation: be nice, be engaging, be welcoming. What I have done, especially for the newbies, what worked for me, and for the newbies that I bring into the table and are introducing, it's like, listen, I'll teach you the rules. If you want, I will give you advice on how to play it for the first couple of games so that you get the flow. I'm not really interested about winning. I'm interested about playing the game. Mm-hmm. I had an experience actually at BBG Con. I am not a heavy, like super heavy Euro gamer. Most of the games that I play with my table, I would never be able to bring out a heavy Euro, first of all, but I can bring out a medium, right, like Concordia or Prime Time that's coming out. Or Viticulture.
Medium.
Well, let me consider what I think is hard, and this is the very first time I've ever had this experience with any board game. So I wanted to test out Food Chain Magnet.
Oh boy.
Okay. Now that is.
I'm hungry now. Thank you.
Oh no.
Let's go for lunch.
Well, let me tell you, after playing it, I was no longer hungry. The closest experience I had to Food Chain Magnet, and I was playing with someone who was a little bit obnoxious too, who, in my opinion, deliberately misled me on how this thing goes. Because if with Food Chain Magnet, if you mess up your first 2 or 3 rounds, you're done for the game.
Oh.
And I screwed up horribly. And if it's someone who's new, who's not into like a heavy Euro, like I would be a newbie for the heavy Euro set, like the really heavy Euro set. And oh my God, it was akin to watching an Ingmar Bergman film. It was a horrible experience. It was painful. I was damn near in tears. But yet the next day, after my brain had processed it overnight, I felt spiritually rewarded for having gone through that experience.
So, I mean, some good advice there is, if you are at a table with newbies, if you see they're struggling, help them out with some strategy, help them out with some rules that they might have forgotten, and also for me, interject a bit of humor or a bit of a theme, even if you're like teaching someone Quirkle. There is no theme in Quirkle, but make a theme. Yeah, there are plenty of things that you can relate to, or you can create like in jokes, like something about triangles and circles, but to try and lighten the mood, as I said, try to help them, especially if it's a heavy game like Prime Time is heavy. Yes, I love having all those female demographics stolen away from my #1 show. But yeah, just to be light and cautious, because again, you don't know who you're playing with. So there might be a newbie at the table, there might be an AP person at the table, and there might be I can't remember what word you said, Philip. Obnoxious. There might be your obnoxious player. So always be careful, because there may be a newbie, and you might put them off. You might put them off the game. You might put them off gaming entirely. So it is all down to being polite, being open, and nudging.
I think it's important too. If you're, I like to go by the old golden rule. Treat other people as you want to be treated. Now, if you're a jerk, don't do that. But one thing that drives me nuts is when I'm playing a game and you're trying to understand the mechanics, and they're condescending. They've got that snotty attitude about, well, yeah, I've already said it, like, duh, or like I said, and they get that tone, and then it makes you afraid to make a mistake or to ask a question, and all of a sudden you're no longer having fun. You're trying not to fail, and gaming should be fun, and so we should try to help people in that process. we don't have to alpha game. I mean, alpha gaming really bothers me in co-ops. I have it just like, why am I here? And so that kind of thing drives, bothers me, even when people aren't trying to do it, but when that happens, have you had that experience with co-ops?
Yeah, and I'm going to own something I'm not very proud of. I tend to be the alpha gamer. And I try very, and it's part of my personality. I'm an extrovert 30, and so I tend to think out loud, and I tend to, and I come from a long line of professors, so I know how to be pedantic. That's my natural accent. So I have to work. I actually work hard about after my move, unless I am specifically asked. I just don't say anything. And because I will be the alpha gamer, and I do know that about myself, and it's not because I'm trying to override anybody. I'm trying to win the game with everybody else, and I'm trying to be helpful, but it comes off poorly, and it comes off incorrectly, and that's not. And sometimes people have fun, don't have fun. So Zombicide is a perfect example of a game where you can have a real alpha gamer. And so that's one of the reasons that we go into character, because each character has a scene, and so that way if I'm not in the scene, I can't talk. And so for me, listen, I mean, you got to be true to yourself, and you got to understand what your strengths and your weaknesses are. I have no problem bringing humor to a game. That's one of my strengths. Alpha gaming is one of my weaknesses. So I very much try now to stay quiet until someone specifically asks me, hey, Phil, what would you think is the right thing to do? And then I will answer their question, but they're reaching out to me. I'm not giving their input. So that's good, though,
that you're actually self-aware, and I think that's helpful. And a lot of times it's garnering your game group. If they're a new game group, it takes a little bit to get the feel of everyone. But once you've played with some people for a little bit, you start to understand their personalities, so that you can kind of adapt it a little bit and work with people, and you kind of know where to go and where not to go, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, Barry, do you got another question, or do you have another comment about that?
But you were going to say something?
No, I was just gonna talk about shifting gears just slightly, unless you had another comment.
No, that's all right. I can wait.
Do you, Philip, as relatively new, I think you're pretty well versed with what's happening in the hobby, but being relatively new, how do you feel and how do you process all of these new games and the amount of content, whether it's podcasts, board game media, hype, all the newness, the hotness, whatever you want to go. How do you process all that?
Slowly. As I get older, I can't process quite as quickly as I used to. What I do now is, I have a little bit of extra padding that I'm trying to lose for summer, about 70 pounds worth, and what I'm doing now is as far as podcasts, what I do is I've limited to the podcasts that just are the most meaningful. What I've done is I've gone through the podcasts. Not everybody is not every podcast is going to speak to me, and everybody has different opinions. So, for instance, I've sort of kind of stopped listening to Tom Vassel's reviews, because what he likes and what I like tend to be a little bit different. I mean, there's an overlap, but it tends to be different. Richard Ham of Rado runs through it. He tends to be more like what I like, and his wife Jen has a very similar likes and dislikes like my wife Marina. And so, so for me, that and most of the people, and most of the time I'm playing with my wife, right? Because our kids are a little bit older now, and one's out, and one's a senior in college, in high school, and one's a junior in high school who.
Wait.
I'm lucky if...
Nice. Wait.
Yeah.
Nice. No, I mean...
No idea. No, not at all. Yes, my wife likes sports. What are you asking?
She into photography.
Yes. Thank you. Yes, I can quote Eric Idle too. Anyway, so for us, so what I've done is, but what I do like other things with Tom Vassell, and I especially like it when he's with Sam Haley and Zeke Garcia, because Zeke and Sam are a little bit closer to what I like and so forth. So, but it gives me sort of a worldview. So what I end up doing is I end up specifically watching those or listening to those that speak mostly to me. As far as the podcast is, now that I'm exercising on a more regular basis, I load up the podcast onto my little trusty cell phone here, and I listen to it while I work out, because I don't need to have full attention into the podcast to garner every piece of word as if it were infinite wisdom.
Yeah.
And also I also keep in track of each person has their own spin, their own ideas, and I keep that in mind, and then I decide what's best for me. About the hype as it relates to Kickstarter, because you asked about that as well. I'm a little worse at that, of seeing what's good and what's bad. I have some real stinkers in my collection, which I will probably never be able to get rid of unless I donate them.
Hey, we got a contest coming for you. We got some of Philip Millman's stickers, and you can get it today if you tell us
Just
how
pay for
great
shipping.
We got the sticker contest going on now.
And Sedition Wars, I'm talking about you. So what I'm doing now is now that I have a kid going back to college, I'm going to be probably buying a lot less. But it's more of I now watch the gameplay a little bit more intently. And now that I have and when I bought Sedition Wars, I didn't have the broad base of gameplay that I do now. And that's why my recommendation is go to a gaming club, play a lot of different games before you buy your first game, so that you know what to stay away from. And that I think is, for me, the biggest recommendation I can give.
And before that, find a game club. How do you do that? Well, there's lots of different ways. I mean, I'm finding game clubs all over the place at the moment, and a lot of them were back in my town where I used to live in England, which is surprising enough. All you got to do is go to a social site like Facebook or something like that, type in board games or board game group, and then a list will come up, and hopefully there'll be something near you. As a newbie, you need to play with other people, and as Philip said, you need to discover new games and find out what things you like and what you don't like. Just don't go out there and splurge, because you'll have a shelf of shame like Berkey does over there.
Big shelf of shame.
It's a big shelf of shame.
You too.
I've got a shelf of work, not a shelf of shame. It's a shelf of work. It's a pile of games which I need to play to do reviews of.
Unfortunately, this isn't my profession, so I don't have that luxury.
And this is not my profession.
Yeah, but let's pretend it is.
This pays for my weekend ice cream. This does.
Mmm.
Yeah, I usually can get a cup of coffee out of it at Sambo's.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, I think too, if for one of the things I think is interesting about game groups, when you are an enthusiast of the hobby, you obviously want to play games, and if you don't have a source to do that, that can be frustrating. We recently had a gentleman that moved from Minneapolis to our town. We're in rural Minnesota, and he actually put an ad in the paper saying that he was going to have game group at the public library. Ended up finding out about the guy, went out and had lunch with him, and I've had several occasions. I was at the city bakery one day, and I saw this couple playing a game on the table. And we're in a real small town, but I was so intrigued to see them playing that I just stopped over there and said, "Hey, I noticed you're playing a game here. What are you playing?" And just engaged them. Before you know it, I was going down to this restaurant, and we were playing every other week. Just having fun and getting to know them. Invited them finally to our home, and this other gentleman was able to connect with him. End up finding a couple more people at a power company here that are gamers. Before you know it, that's 6 or 7 people that we can play games with. And now we're doing a once a month a game night that this guy's going to be hosting at the library, and we're going to come and help out and contribute to the library and things of that nature. So don't be afraid to engage with people. And like you say, you might find some schmucks, but you might find some wonderful human beings that you just become lifelong friends.
And you might find nemesis that beat you at every game, and you're just like, look, I've had this in my attic for 5,000 years, right? This is an original Chinese checkers board. I'm gonna kill you with this. Come on, let's go.
Let me just give you my 3 examples of finding game groups. And it's a little bit harder for me because I am traveling so much for work, although hopefully, God willing, it'll stop now. But the first is I am one of those people who from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday don't do anything electronic, don't do it for religious reasons, don't do anything electronic, don't write. I don't write, and I walk to my synagogue and come back, so forth. So I found other gamers within my synagogue so that we play Saturday afternoons, and board games are great for that, for the Jewish Sabbath. Most of them, I mean, some of them you can't play because they require writing or electronics, but a vast majority you can just play. So I developed other people with interest, and just by talking about it and being open and honest and saying, you know, listen, this is who I am, and I enjoy it, and there's nothing wrong with it. The second thing, and I'm going to do a shout out to a Chicago area group. I was stationed in Chicago for a month, and so I went on BoardGameGeek.com, which is fantastic, and I went to the forum and I said, all right, what is there for a hi, honey, I'm almost done.
Hey!
And she's asked me, are you ready for lunch yet? I am. Yeah, I am. I'm getting there, especially with Food Chain Magnet. So I just said, what's out there in the Chicagoland area? And they said, hey, there's this group out in Palatine, Illinois called the Toggle Gaming Group. They meet Tuesday nights right by the Palatine train station. And it was truly an amazing experience. And they welcomed me in, and they have this great Facebook presence, and you know, everybody wears their T-shirts, and you know, and it's sort of like Wall's Drug, where you see them all over the place, and so you see the T-shirt. So when I was just recently in Dublin, I was wearing it on the Liffey, and took a picture so that all the guys back in Palatine could see that I was there. And so, you know, one is homegrown, the other is Board Game Geek, and then there is a Maryland there's a Gamers Club of Maryland. I live in Maryland. And they have meetings all over the place, and that I found by doing, surprise, surprise, a Google search, and Google seems to know about board games. So those are the 3 ways that I really met up with a lot of the gamers. And again, I'm blessed to have a wife who doesn't love board games like I do, but she likes them and is tolerant enough to let me. You know, we tend to have a game night, 2 or 3 times a week.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
so,
fantastic.
shall we summarize this little Babble subject before we drool all over our keyboards?
Yes, please summarize, Barry. Please summarize, Barry. Barry, summarize.
Okay, so for me, if you are an experienced player and there's newbies, be polite, be nice, be friendly, introduce, help. Because it's not instantly, people are going to realize what a deck building game is. You have to describe. If you are new to the hobby, you need to go out and explore. The internet is a wonderful place. You can look everywhere. As Philip said, you can do Google searches and find groups of other people that are interested in playing games, or you can find lots of different YouTube channels and videos, and there are lots of blogs and sites about board games, so don't go out there and spend all your money at once, because you won't have anything left, and then you'll be like Philip, stuck with games which are stuck in a room with no light bulb, because they won't see the light of day.
And, but we'll make it to stinky contests.
Yes, and remember, we have to set up hashtag stinky contest. We have to start doing something like that. Okay, so we're going to give away this game. It's been in my collection for 3 years, and I still haven't played it because it's really, really big. So we're going to give it away as a prize. Oh, we had 1 entry. Okay. So, yeah. Be careful. Go and explore. Have fun. I know probably there's this big shyness thing because it's board games and Monopoly. Yes. You're a weirdo, mister. I come here for an argument.
I was weird well before board games.
So was I. I was kissing boys in the playground. Oops.
That's okay. That's okay.
I think this has been just such a great time having you on the show, Philip. I'm so glad that you got involved with us and the Jack Bassel Memorial Fund, and so it was really a pleasure to meet you too. And thank you so much for coming on the show. This has just been really great.
Thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed this. Thank you very much.
How can people connect with you? Are you on social media, or would you like to give any information out that regard? Or
so I do have a I am on Facebook, but it's somewhat locked down. I'm going to be if you look at if you're on Facebook and you are part of the Board Game Geek group within Facebook, I'm very active in that. I've been contributing to the Board Game magazine, which is hopefully get out its second edition, and so I've done reviews on that. So I don't quite have a Twitter that's for available consumption at this point, but I will probably shortly.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. We sure appreciate you having on the show, and I think we're going to probably wrap up the show here. But Barry, is there anything else you want to share to close up before we kind of give people information how they can get a hold of us?
I think I've shared enough about saying about kissing boys in the playground.
Yes, please. Hey, by the way, I almost forgot about this, but we are going to be having a contest on Board Game Theater, and you know, we do Board Game Theater, but our website, www.boardgametheater.com, also houses the information for the Berkey and Badger Board Game Babble Show. And there's many places that you can contact us. You can get a hold of us at the Board Game Geek Guild, which is the 2248, I believe.
Yeah.
Board Game Geek. You can also join us on Facebook at Berkey and Badger. And then we have Board Game Theater, which is on Facebook as well. We will list these contests, and we have a really cool contest coming up from Gamelin Games, where you're going to have the opportunity to win several different things from Gamelin Games, and we'll probably be adding some other things. You'll see this contest launched here within just the next couple days. It'll probably run for about 3 weeks. We're constantly doing these with different episodes, but we'll also have some contests on the Berkey and Badger. So one thing that we would really love from those of you that do listen, if you could give us some feedback, give us some love. I mean, join the guild and talk to us about things you'd like to hear us talk about on the Babble Show. Other ideas, suggestions that you might have. We would love to interact with you. And that's, I think, one of the big things when you're doing this. You're doing it because you're hoping that you're engaging people and bringing some joy into people's lives, and we would love to be able to do that with you.
Yes, thank you for giving your love. Go to Board Game Links as well and give us some love there. We're doing pretty well. We got some love hearts there, which is cute. Ooh.
Hearts.
So we're going to wrap up and say thank you for watching. It's been a pleasure. Philip, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
No problems. And we will probably see you in another couple of weeks with a live podcast. And if you're listening to the audio podcast, it'll pop up whenever I finish mixing it and doing a bit of wicka on it. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll say good night, and we'll see you soon.
and the Baseball Highlights 2045 duel is on, partner.
On. You're going down. Going down.
You're going down.
Hey, dude, from my part of Brooklyn, you're going down. You know what I mean? You're going down. There ain't going to be no slices for you either. You're going to be in the river. You know what I mean?
Yeah, forget about it.
Forget about it, yeah.
No comment.
See you later.
Music.
We're so glad we had this time together, and now it's time to go. It won't be long until we have another show. So keep us in mind, get online. Berkey and Badger will be back in no time.